Well, it is 6 o'clock, and I will call this meeting of the Long-Term Building Committee to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the October 25th meeting. I believe Mr. Hardin had these prepared. If there are no changes, I would entertain a motion.
Yes, I'll move the minutes.
Okay. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Seeing no opposition, the motion carries, and we'll move on to the discussion items. First off, the old high school and town building town administrator update. So, Jimmy, you want to take it away real quick?
Sure. So on the old high school, there has been some interest from UMass Dartmouth. They're looking to build a liberal arts building, I believe it is, and they're looking to start construction in December of 24. So they're looking for space for their F&E, their furnishings and equipment. They also may be looking at some classroom space. It's still very early in the process, but they do seem interested. We've been up there probably 4 times with them now, walking the building. This would be a short-term use, maybe 1 to 3 years, I think, tops. But if they did go in there and it worked, it might buy us a little bit of time. You have somebody occupying the building, offset some of the costs that we have associated with the building at this point. We have told them that we'd like to keep the admin offices in there and see if we can work the after-school program in there as well. That's a little bit more challenging because you have different. If they do have classrooms over there, they get different ages and they gotta work that out. But they might be able to separate the two. And it's still early. They haven't committed to anything. It's just kind of kicking tires at this point. But yeah, it's an option. It might be a good option for the town.
Excellent. 2 questions, I guess. First off, I was wondering if you could share with the committee something you mentioned to me about how this would not be a situation where the town would be required to do maintenance and whatnot as far as, or the upkeep anyway of the building if this happened. This would be a turnkey situation, is that correct?
Well, that's a discussion. Very preliminary. I mean, we haven't gotten into details, but in order to make this work for them, we don't have the resources to even go through the process, right? We don't have the resources to maintain the building. They would have to pretty much take over the facility, have their own maintenance staff, clear the snow, make sure the building's operable, monitor the boilers, everything. So they would pretty much be responsible for it. I don't think we're in a position where we can be a landlord for that type of facility if they wanted to use it. We just don't have the staff or the resources. If something goes wrong, who are they going to call? Maybe we can work with the school department, but they're short staffed as well, unless we can work it through the agreement where we have to hire somebody else. Again, it's early, but
work like a regular triple net lease or something like that, where we take care of the snow when they do their build out and all that type of stuff. Work whatever maintenance needs to be into it. I mean, if we are maintaining the building now, we have to.
Yeah, it's minimal, right? You get minimal use of the building, so.
And I think whatever their use is, I was talking to somebody, it's kind of a messy use, and not something that's.
How much of the building do they want to use?
I don't know. They don't know.
And it will be what would the different uses be?
So the uses that they've talked about in general, it's storage. They've kind of, they're looking for. They need a place to put a lot of their stuff. They're clearing out one of their largest buildings at UMass. So they need to put storage.
Was that the building in Fall River? I mean, in New Bedford, though, wasn't it?
That's kind of separate, right? So maybe it is tied in with the same building. I don't know, but they were using some art facilities down in New Bedford where they had some kilns, and they were looking at the Bed Bath and Beyond over in Dartmouth to do that there. But I think the permitting with the venting and stuff and the change of use caused some problems over there. And the old high school has a kiln already, and They might be able to put a couple of others in there fairly easy. So that was one use. Then they looked at storage, and then they're looking at classrooms. But again, they're just looking at this point.
Is there any semblance of a timetable at this point that you would
So
say? Or?
I think if they were looking to move the stuff in from the other building, they'd be looking to do that in July so they could use the place in September.
Are they talking about bringing anything in there that's flammable?
I don't know.
Because the building's not sprinkled, as we know.
It would be a similar use, right? It'd be an educational use, one educational use to another.
And what, so they're gonna build a new one, a whole new facility at the campus in Dartmouth?
They're either building a new facility or they're redoing their building, I don't know.
Did they move everything out of the law school? Weren't they moving the law school out into the main campus?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think they did move that, didn't they?
No,
Still there?
when I walked out of there in May, it was still at the building up on Fons Court. Yeah, I remember that being, there was discussions about that, but I don't think that ever actually happened.
So this is a renovation project for their largest classroom building.
Yeah, imagine if they needed a place to store the furniture, they'd probably renovate that building. Or if they were just waiting for the new building to be built, there'd be no reason to move out of the current building,
That's
unless they
right.
were demolishing it, for the new one. But they just knocked down all those old dorms. Maybe they're gonna build something there, which would make sense.
We could always, I'm just throwing this out there because I know we want out of the annex. Couldn't we move our offices to the high school and let them do storage in the annex?
Depends on how much storage they want.
That's a pretty difficult storage building.
I mean, at this point, we try to get them to sign some sort of letter of interest, just to kind of force them to keep it
Maybe they'd have an interest in taking over the whole building.
in or out,
Yeah, I don't think they're looking at buying it. They're looking at, if they do anything, would be to lease it.
Well, I mean, wasn't that Star Store some real good deal for somebody that owned the building back in the day?
Yeah.
Maybe we could get some kind of deal like that with them.
What kind of deal, Danny? What kind of deal?
Well, they put a lot of money into that. A lot of money. Maybe we can get them to do renovations in this thing that we need. They got deeper pockets than we do. Maybe they could put sprinkler systems in this. It could be a lot of things they could do.
No matter what, there's a lot of unanswered questions here, but it's something that is percolating at least.
I mean, other than any uses the school, the district may need or may not need for the building, obviously to get UMass Dartmouth, using that building for something would obviously be a good thing, I would think, for the town and for the building. But
Wasn't there a discussion at one point early on about, somebody from the chairman called me at one point from the art school when they lost the Star School. What's happened with, anything happened with that?
So that's how it started, right? They came over to look to see if they could use a couple of classrooms for their art program.
Yep.
And then they've kind of looked, it expanded a little bit, or their thought process has expanded a little bit. But yeah, it's still early. I don't have any more information than that.
There's no reason why we don't want to keep moving forward with it though, so let's keep moving forward.
It's a need.
Yeah, I think it's one of our
Keep
better
going.
leads right now, so I think we're pushing on it.
Good deal. All right, excellent. Well, if there's nothing else from you, Jim, we'll go ahead and move on to the updated town department questionnaire.
I just want
Or
to
is it
mention one
another-
thing, Swansea Municipal Complex.
Yes.
So Swansea went to town meeting a couple of weeks ago. They were proposing a municipal complex which had a town hall, council on aging, a maintenance garage, a maintenance shed, and about a $54 million project. And they weren't going to increase, it was not a debt exclusion, so they're going to fund it with their operating budget, which was pretty impressive. But it got shot down. They needed like 900 votes out of the 1,400.
Big signs all over
They
the
got
main
200.
roads, vote no. That's, yeah.
But that building, the municipal building, including the council on aging, is about 32,000 square feet. And the costs were probably around $21 million for that. So that'd be a brand new building, new site. built the specifications that they need. They're looking about $650 a square foot.
Well,
Was there any indication of what it was that, besides general sentiment, was there any particular issue with the bids or something that might have caused this? Or because I remember seeing that the vote was very lopsided too. It wasn't even close.
So they just approved funding for a library. That was like, I don't know, $15 million project, I think, as well. So this is a few months after that. I think it's...
I mean, they pretty much got the same kind of situation as us with that building still.
Yeah, they took a big, they have a better tax base there, so
Yeah.
they have more money in that aspect. But they also took a big hit. That's the Swansea Malters or something.
So their town hall is tough. I don't know if you've been in their town
Oh
hall.
no, you
but
can't
it's-
really squeeze through and get in the
And
thing.
their annex in an old school building is
Yeah.
much worse than our annex. So.
Yeah.
And the highway department's much worse than ours too.
Yeah.
I haven't been in there in 20-some years.
They have an engineer in there though.
They do. So that's all I have. I did look at our building here in the annex, and I think we're probably looking at, right now we're using, we probably have about 13,000 square feet in this building. That includes all 3 floors, the basement as well, and we got about 10,000 square feet of usable space in the annex. That's just the top floor where the building inspectors are, and the lower floor where the planning office and hearing room are. So you're looking about 23,000 square feet.
that much, huh?
Yeah, and like I said, it's interesting because Swansea is about the same size as us, right? Personnel-wise, and they were looking at a 32,000 square foot building, and the majority of that, a big portion of it was Council on Aging. So we have, if you look at our office, especially over at the annex, most of the offices are taken up with storage. It's filing cabinets. And I am assuming pretty soon those are going to be obsolete.
I was gonna say that we're gonna just need to store that somewhere. We don't, once we get everything on the computer.
there's still certain requirements,
Yeah,
for
we gotta
like
keep
5
that
years or
stuff.
something. But
Well, even take longer. I don't think we can get rid of that stuff at all. But
That's all I got.
Well, thank you very much. So I did pass out just an updated draft of the town department workspace evaluation survey. Made a couple of changes based on the comments from last meeting, including I got rid of the IT part mostly, just a couple of questions about to the best of the department head's knowledge as far as whether they're being adequately served by the IT infrastructure. So what I would like to do, if there's any other amendments or changes to this, I would like to go ahead and set up kind of a timeline to get this out to the department heads and hopefully and get it filled out by them by the end of the year for sure. I don't know if it'd be realistic to have a tighter deadline than that right now. So that's my thought on that. And if anybody has anything else that you think needs to be added or taken away from this, please feel free to speak up. So I believe I would need a motion to approve this survey, the draft, and to set a timeline for completion of the end of the year. So I'll just go ahead and move that. If anybody can second.
second.
All right, and all those in favor? All opposed? Hearing no one opposed, the motion carries. So we'll move on quickly to the one thing I did want to just briefly mention was the letter that was sent by the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and I believe I emailed that to everyone. If basically was just indicating that should the reuse of the old high school end up being in the future to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund would just like us to consider possible uses for affordable housing of either buildings that were vacated or other land sites in the town. So I don't believe there was any immediate action on this. This was more of just a general sentiment. Is that correct in your estimation, Jim, from what you saw here? Okay. So I just wanted to put that out there and put it on the agenda just to make sure that everybody had a chance to see the letter. And again, was on the email. I can get a copy. I've got one copy here if anybody hasn't had a chance to take a look at it yet. Did anybody have any thoughts or questions about that aspect as of right now, or?
Yeah, I'm on the Affordable Housing Committee, and I think they just want to make sure that it's on everyone's radar. It's going to become more and more important as we start looking to get grants from the state and the train comes down. So I just think that they just want to make sure you realize they're there.
Absolutely. And just out of curiosity, has there been any more information given to you all about whether the transportation access requirements are going to come into play anytime? Is there any kind of timeline that's been given as far as that, or is that still just something that's out there as a possibility?
It's just out there, right? I mean, it's something that everybody knows is
it's coming.
It's coming, and we are going to need to start at least have some plans going. I mean, hopefully everything's going to dovetail well with the sewer and water coming down Route 6. And I mean, as a group, we have been looking at, there's a couple properties on the other side of Route 6 that are kind of some small houses that we may be able to, if we could pick them up for a decent price, put something together. But really there's no desire to act on them until because you wouldn't be able to put a number of units there without the water in the sewer.
Understood. Makes sense. Okay. All right.
I think that what they were saying, that was one of the things was that all they had to do was find an area for this, whether it could be built or not at this time. So that might cover what you need to deal with that.
Right. It's just to keep it in the not too distant future. This is going to be a real need. So as we move forward with things, just keep it in the back of your mind, I think, is really what everyone wants to see.
Understood. All right. Well, thank you very much for that. So the next item is the facilitator selection. So there are two individuals that one of the people that John, you recommended, and another person who is working with Fall River on a redevelopment there. I've been playing phone tag and have not had a chance to speak to either one of them yet. What I am asking for the committee to do is to just empower me to work as the chair, to work with the town administrator to get this appointed, get the facilitator appointed once I have a chance to speak with these two. I'm hoping to get that done this week, if I can pin them down long enough to have a conversation and try to get this going as quickly as possible. And the plan of action would be to have an initial meeting, hopefully with the facilitator, hopefully the week after Thanksgiving, and then immediately start planning for a workshop and trying to schedule a workshop, because I think that's what it's going to take to get the ball completely rolling on that. So
I did speak with both of them, and I know we put them in touch with you, so you can connect. I think they're both good. They both do this work all the time. One of them is doing work in Fall River. The other one is from the Cambridge area and does this type of work quite a bit. So I think it would help. Either one I think would be great.
Excellent. My hope was that I could report back tonight. This is, out of the two that I spoke to, this is who I would recommend. Having not spoken to them yet, I can't do that, but I would like to try and move on this before our next meeting, if the committee would be in agreement with that.
You need a motion for that?
I wouldn't entertain a motion for that.
Make a motion that you can negotiate with the facilitator.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion at all, or any other questions?
So who will pick between the two?
So basically, it would be myself or Jim. I mean, it'd be both of us if that's.
Okay.
So I literally just want to have a phone conversation with both of them before, And I think that either, as Jim had said, either one would be very appropriate for this role. So I just would like to have a conversation to see, get their input. But like I said, my hope is to have this done before the end of the week. So
My only comment is, that sounds pretty aggressive.
it's always a great. Well, I should say I at least want to have it picked now. As far as signed contracts and all that, we're going to try
I'm
and
just
move as
trying to
quickly as
flip
possible.
myself into the role of that person and being interviewed on, today's Wednesday, on Thursday and hired on Friday and go to work, never having met anybody on Monday. That's a little aggressive.
It's a hope, and we'll call it a hope until it happens. But we'll see what I can come up with on that. So, in any case, the motion's on the table. So I'll ask all those in favor.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. And move on to the second part of that, which was the workshop scheduling. So I put it on the supplement notes here. I don't know, has everybody used Doodle polls before?
What?
It's a site called Doodle. Basically, it will list certain times that over the number of days, and it will list options for meeting, and then you select which options work for you, and it's a way to get
It's a survey.
so just a survey to try
I don't
and.
know what it is, but it can't be that hard, right?
It's wicked easy. That's why everybody uses
There you
it.
go. Exactly. Exactly. So just be on the lookout for a link that I'll send
It can
out
be
to
hard.
everybody. So
It can be hard.
It'll then, because
For guys like us, Tony.
For older guys, it's hard.
it'll then show us which
it
meetings
out.
the most
But
people.
we got kids, so we can always ask.
If you have young kids at home, you can ask.
So that's going to come in here real quick. So with that, I would ask if there are any topics that any new business at all that anybody wants to bring up or anything else before we close for the evening.
You asked about the schools. I know the
Yes.
superintendent, I don't know if he's got any updated information, but we'll put him on the spot.
Okay, anything in particular you have to focus on?
So just if I believe John had one inquiry.
We talked before about 2, 3, 5 years down the road. And you indicated you really thought that we might need that. And of course, I've talked to some other people and I say, Christ, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. So, do you have something you can come to this committee with that says, or just other than saying it, that how many classroom spaces, or what's your guess or a range for the next 3 to 5 years? Because that really does impact what happens at this school or doesn't happen to it.
So I'll try and do my best thing. I'm not particularly too knowledgeable, according to some people. So I know that right off the bat, we need 5,000 square for the district offices. Additionally, we have an out-of-school time program that's wildly successful and wildly in demand to the point where we can't meet the community's demand right now.
Is that the program that's in the basement?
That's in the program that's currently in the gym area and
Yeah.
also using some of the old school classrooms. So, and then we are putting a proposal together in an effort to start what we're calling an early childhood center. Typically around age 2 years, 9 months, we get students registering in what's called early intervention. Students who may have some problems coming in, and we want to address those problems. We're seeing right now a terrible, and it's not just us, it's across the country, we're seeing a literacy problem that needs to be addressed. Part of the problem that we're facing right now is the fact that we're getting kids in for kindergarten who, quite frankly, haven't learned how to toilet. So by the time we get them to learn some of the socialization skills, we've lost some academic time. So the idea behind having an early childhood center would be to have a place where parents could get the kids in earlier. We could do a lot of the socialization that they might be struggling with, so that when they get to age 5, they're fully ready for kindergarten. So,
I've got a question, and I got just to interrupt for 1 second.
No worries, yeah.
Because I can't keep too many things in my head at once. Because you're talking to really young kids,
we are.
what kind of physical changes would have to be made to bathrooms and spaces for kids of that age in that building?
Well, we're working with some of the younger students right now, as old as 5 years old. We've made some accommodations for them. I don't believe that the future of that program would be in that building. If we had, the revenue, we've already, the committee has already charged me with taking a look at the Macomber School. If you remember, there were pods there that we had there to accommodate. We removed them, and as early as 2 years ago, we took a look at what the possibilities would be of an expansion of that Macomber, which frankly makes sense it's the primary school to begin with, so you would want those kids in there, and it would also provide additional adult support for that school, which is really, it's out there on Gifford Road. And so, from a security perspective, from an accessibility perspective, from a logistical perspective, it makes perfect sense to do that. And what we were thinking about was doing sort of an L. We're going to be meeting on Monday with a number of stakeholders to take a look at, what we would need in terms of our space, because that early childhood center would also include a family engagement center, because what we're finding with a lot of the parents is they need a lot of services that are just not available to them, what we refer to as wraparound services. So, if we want the kids to be successful, we need to make sure that the parents have the wherewithal to have the things that they need to help their kids, grow. So we're going to be taking a look at that on Monday. We've invited Mr. Souza just to come for, his expertise. We're going to take a look at it and see, what the viability of that would be. Additionally, we're certainly very serious about adult education here in Westport, because we've already got a grant right now. This is the second year of the grant from the National Education Foundation that affords people online to take up to 8,000 different courses in various different, trade areas. Some of them are like Microsoft Office, if anybody wants to work in a professional setting, but we also have stuff like Six Sigma, which is for supply chain and things of that nature. So we're looking at trying to develop a very robust adult program, because we think it can generate revenue very similarly to our school time program. That is a revolving account and self-sustaining. So we need to have more of that, because again, with the fluctuation of budgeting, we need things that we can be self-sustained with and then move them forward.
Tom, could you just briefly explain what you mean by early intervention? And when we talk about kids that are 2 years and 9 months old, and why are kids that young coming to the schools? Could you just explain to people what that, why that happens and what the law is behind that?
Yeah, by law, any parent can go to a district, and if they have some concerns about the cognitive or academic development of the child, they can come in and have them tested to see where they're at, and that's part of the services that we provide over at the MAP. And so, the theory behind it is to, again, get the kids sooner, hopefully get them remediated, because what we're finding is if it goes on longer and longer, that becomes a significant burden, especially in light of the cost of special education right now. This is why we actually, are going to be grabbing a couple of vans out of ARPA to actually transport our own students, hopefully, to these special education placements, because they're running in the hundreds of thousands of dollars for transportation, and we just can't sustain it anymore. So we're trying to find ways to generate revenue, limit costs, while providing the services that we can for our community. There's a desperate need for child care in this community. It's off the charts.
How much of the building would you need?
Well, that's why we're taking a look. Like I said, the district offices are 5,000 square themselves. We have a model of a early childhood center that our out-of-school time director went to go see in Attleboro, and we're going to be putting something together for the school committee in terms of just what the prospective square footage would be, and what it would look like, what we would need for that. I mean, those are some of the needs. I mean, going even longer term, we need athletic fields. In spite of the fact that we just built a new school, we are using the fields over on at the old school, and we're using the ones on Stafford Mill Farm Middle School programs.
Are you using the, when you use the athletic fields, are you using any of the bathrooms, changing rooms, any of that stuff?
We try and avoid that. We have an outhouse out there, but if the kids have to come in, we try and keep them out, quite honestly, because we get the out of school time program there. We try not to have it much mixing here because again, it's a security issue.
Yep.
I don't know if that answered the.
There's certainly, I know that the school committee's been talking about a lot of different possibilities down the road, including possibly moving the admin office out. Is that, would you say that that's a priority for the school committee at this point, at some point, moving out, or?
You have to talk to my boss.
Or if it's not appropriate to necessarily pin you down for that right now, I can understand.
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
I mean, is it a priority? I mean, it's something that we need to do, again, because that's going to hinder any possible plans of that property. We have to make a decision on that eventually, obviously. If we had a place to go, and it worked out, and it was great, and we could do that, and this would make our job much easier as far as what to do with the high school.
Is there a general sentiment that remaining where the admin offices are right now, even if more things were to come in to that building, is there a sense that that's not something?
Just speaking for myself, I mean, I think with admin there, and if somebody else was using the property, I think that would work. I mean, with the after-school program there and the kids there, that throws a whole, that changes things. So.
Because we're also taking a realistic look. I mean, there's a revenue issue. The building could possibly generate revenue, so I think we'd be foolhardy not to at least try and prepare for a contingency one way or another. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, and one of the reasons people buy houses is they don't want to, depend on the landlord. Nothing personal, Jim. I understand that, for Jim, if he can get the revenue to ease his burden, I'm sure he's going to do everything he can to do that, and I would understand that. On my end, I got to make sure that we have plans moving forward.
Understood.
The adult education, I mean, is that something that you'd probably have like night school there, or?
We're actually not calling it like night school because we feel that there are adults that could benefit going during the day. It's just a matter of figuring out how we would go about doing that. But right now, with our Z-Space computers and our NEF grant, and I know you know a little bit about technical education, we've got 2 of the 3 mechanisms taken care of. The last thing that we would need is the hands-on piece, which we're going to pilot coming up next semester. Our maintenance director is a licensed plumber. We have a maintenance person who is a licensed electrician. So our guidance department has targeted a couple of kids who are not interested in going to college and are looking to pursue a trade. So we're going to try and see if they can get hours working with them, with the hope that that'll put them in, because again, a lot of these schools that you go to, like, and I don't want to badmouth any of them, but it's $30,000. That's a lot of money for our kids to dole out. Whereas if we could provide that education here, I think it would be a real winner.
Kind of one of the things, like when we went in there to inspect the building and you guys are still in there, I mean, that's definitely an asset that no matter how we use it, I mean, even if it's an overflow for other projects that you got in the next 10 years, we can work this building, the way we, till we, the fields, what do we have to do with the fields? We need the fields. I drive by there.
That was the idea behind the campground. I mean, we do own the campground. I mean, we got 12 acres.
And I think, even at the campground, I mean, 12 acres upland, you're talking some of these new buildings and things that you might want, that might happen too, I mean, there's things that you could probably, like, so these new buildings, like when you built the new high school and they were looking at the cost and how you're going to fund this, a new building was easier to get the money than to rehab this building. So if we could still use this building for things that we're using it for and not do major renovations, And yeah, some of these major projects, these other projects down the road, you got campground, you build a new building there, you got, I mean, that thing for the Macomber, I think that's perfect. For, you know, you're gonna put, that's a perfect location for it. You got grammar school, you get that. You got the room for it, why not? You know, I mean, I think it's something a little bit easier to swallow, and you know, there's a lot of moving parts that we.
Yes, indeed.
That's why when that question comes up, it's always a challenge. It's not, there's no easy answers. It's very nuanced. And I know people get frustrated about that. I get frustrated about it. But it's the reality that we're looking in right now. I mean, what would be better than finding a way to, you know, have a building built by revenue that other people are paying rather than have the taxpayers? It'd be ideal. That's why we want to generate some of these programs that can generate revenue without heavy cost. And I think it's really important for us to be able to do that going forward for our long-term sustainability.
But even in that, with your facilitator, the building like that, and you're going to target a piece of that building. You already got that admin in there, and you're going to target a piece of that building for one of these programs and what the build out is for it. And you can just, you know, probably could snowball. You know, and you got the bones there, you know, and if it's.
You know, it's like that show, the TV, the real estate show, buy it, flip it, or keep it. Where somebody could come in and say, well, you know, I want to take a step back, you got to build it. You just use the building that you have. Or I'll do A, B, and C to the building.
Right.
It's your best bet. And, you know, that could happen.
All right, well, again, a lot of moving parts, and I'm hoping to get the facilitator in as quick as possible to start the next process on this. So, did anybody have anything else before we vacate? Thank you, Mr. Superintendent.
One little item. Does it make sense, since we have a few items on the table, to somehow get an article in the paper or something, or however we get news out nowadays, to get the word out there that we're interested in ideas on how to do something with that building in conjunction with programs like this and by themselves. Most people in this town don't really know. I mean, they know the building's vacant, but they really don't know that anything's going on being talked about there.
So on that front, my original idea was that once we get the facilitator and get the town departments that do their survey internally, that we would put word out, or maybe even have a survey for town residents at the beginning of the new year. That was kind of my timetable on that, because I think it is very crucial to get ideas in and get feedback, but I also wanted to make sure that the first thing that we were laying the foundation with would be the input from the town department heads themselves, and go from there. So
There already was a community gathering of ideas. Twice, right? I think it happened twice.
So this goes back, it's been going on for years now, right? So I don't want to say the previous committee, but the same committee, but a couple of years ago, sent out a request for information with proposals, looking to see if anybody was interested in the site, if they had any ideas. And I know Tim King sponsored, I think it was a Zoom meeting. It was originally supposed to be at the high school, but COVID, I think, put the kibosh on that. So that they did have a meeting where a number of people, I know Sean spoke, and, with different ideas as to what to do with the building. So it has been out there. I don't think it hurts to get it out there again, but.
What about just contacting a large commercial realtor, someone who's got all kinds of contacts?
It's not going to happen.
People looking for properties, looking for buildings
Not
to
gonna happen.
develop or use, and just see what's out there.
Not going to happen.
Why not?
What?
Because you sell these municipal buildings for $1 and you knock them down.
Oh, we don't. Yes, typically that's what happens, and I've said that a million times in this committee.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're at selling it for $1 yet.
No,
There
but
might be-
I wouldn't
it could
expect
be
to do
some
that.
tech company that just needs places for people to sit and plug in their computers and work, and no impact on all they need to do is do the heat and whatever, and they don't have to spend bazillions of dollars to make that building usable for it. But we don't have those contacts. I mean, UMass they kind of want to use it for storage, maybe use it for classroom. I mean, that's kind of what I'm thinking about. There's gotta be, you know, this,
Actually, I've talked to a couple.
with the
I do
rail,
have some-
the train coming down, I mean, I gotta think there's gonna be a
And
little bit
so
more
far, I haven't had
interest.
much luck, but there's a lot of those guys out there.
We got one right here.
Yeah.
I mean, Forever just bought an old charter
You know,
school.
there's no, you never
Did a
know.
minor renovation, and that's their grammar school now in the south end of Forever. You know, I worked on that school.
Which one?
They
Which
pushed
one?
it right across from Thompson
Townsend
Hill.
Hill.
But that's in a population center. You're talking a place that's,
What's that?
But it wasn't a lot of money.
I think it
Renovation
was,
they
yeah.
did to
there's so much
utilize it.
commercial space that's vacant up there, it's just
Yeah.
not gonna happen.
So,
No,
so
I'm
we-
talking
we
about
did this,
No,
To keep it
we
for
did, we
us.
had an appraisal done, right? And it was fairly extensive appraisal, and they looked at the highest and best use, and because of the cost of the building, they said the highest and best use is educational. They didn't seem to think that anything else would necessarily work there, financially. I mean, anything can work if you give the property away, you know, they can develop
Yeah.
houses, they can.
Yeah, but the
you know,
highest and best use is educational, and we got a superintendent saying down the road, we're gonna need space. So, whatever we use the building for now, and we're using it for that, we keep developing on that, I think. We don't sell this asset. We're not gonna replace it, and, you know, that land for housing is not gonna be any good for
I
housing.
can't get anything for it.
Well, I think, you know, I would, Jim, encourage you to keep us posted on the UMass possibility, because I
Yep.
do think that if nothing else, that's a revenue generator that can
Get them to do some
buy some
upgrades for us,
time
you
to
know,
get
something like
more things
that. you know.
together, so. Good deal.
Because they have deeper pockets, you know, I mean, they got a need, and
Chris, if I may, if anyone wants to come and see some of the Z-Space computers that we're teaching, some vocational education, which would be glad to have you come in and take a look at it. We've got 24 of them set up permanently in the library, so classes are going through and they're using them. And I think it's just a great way to provide our kids education, keep them in the district, and actually provide an education that I think has a little bit more flexibility than some of the vocationals.
We gotta give you a plug for the soccer team that's going to the state finals on
absolutely.
Saturday.
Couldn't be more excited.
Have they set the location for that
They
yet?
have, and I'm all over it, believe me.
Okay, all right. I'm yeah, waiting for that as well. So.
We've got, oh my
Is it
God.
Foxborough, Tom?
Excellent.
I'm not sure, you know, we're still waiting for the results of the Douglas, I think it's Brom.
Which is
Brom-
tonight, right? That game's tonight?
Tonight, yeah. As a matter of fact, Coach Parker's going up there to scout them, so. yeah,
That's huge.
Good.
You
Yeah,
know, you
no,
don't get to the
it's
state
huge.
finals very often.
It's amazing.
Any programs.
It's amazing.
How come there's no banner out front?
I think we did. We're getting the sign out here to put some soccer stuff and over at the annex, and yeah,
Excellent.
we're doing our little part.
So, I mean, Tom, you know, Tom mentions a lot of things going on, but, you know, this year, I mean, I think last year, I think we really started kicking it really good, and this year we're just continuing. And there's a lot of good things going on, and that's why we're seeing, you know, more 8th graders deciding to stay in the district, which is good. That's what we want. We want more kids in the high school. And so if things continue and, you know, next few years, whatever, we'll definitely, I mean, we'll be in a different place. Who knows? We might have to move back into the old high school. I don't know. I mean, things are going well.
To piggyback on Mr. Rivera's, 155 new students, additional students over the past 3 years. That's pretty impressive. And it's a credit to our staff, school committee, with the vision that they have. It's really pretty impressive.
Even just the daycare, like daycare that you're gonna need. I mean, you could expand that program.
By double, and we wouldn't be able to meet the need right now because it's crazy out there. Right now.
There's a waiting list right now.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's what.
Yes. And what we were struggling with early on was actually getting enough people to work it. That was the other problem that we faced.
And it isn't just what people call it daycare.
Right.
We used to have a daycare, or the town or the organization used to run a daycare, basically a daycare babysitting service.
Yeah.
I mean, what we do is engage these kids, so they're actually being engaged, and they're actually learning and having fun at the same time, you know.
As a matter of fact, we have students, high school students, who actually do a lot of the supervision after school, which is great. Our goalie on our soccer team, you should see him working with the kids. He's an amazing young man. He's just a high quality individual. We have a lot of them.
No, and the rest of the facilities you got a gym, you got a gymnasium, you got the auditorium, you got fields outside. I mean, there's so many things you can do with it.
Absolutely. So,
Jimmy Down, the only thing that's holding us back is money, right? So, and that's big, and it's going to be a struggle this year with the school department and in-town departments, and yeah, and that's the factor.
Responsibly redevelop Route 6 and generate some revenue.
Yeah.
all right, well, I believe that's it for the evening.
All right.
If anybody, can I entertain a
to
motion?
adjourn.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Gathering, nobody's opposed. So, all those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.